I'm excited to be welcome on the newest head coach of LMU University, Coach Stan Johnson. What's going on today?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. So, obviously we know COVID's had a massive effect on everything. You're a new coach. Just first of all, you're getting adjusted now, becoming a head coach. How are you kind of embracing this amongst the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, I always have said that, adversity can cause you to break or it can cause some to break records. And I hope that in our time here, this will be a program that will break records and will fight through adversity. And, more than ever, not only in basketball, but in every aspect of society, leadership is important right now. And leaders, especially the ones that can see things possibly before they happen and make, good decisions, but more importantly, the ones that can be flexible and in their approach and how they're doing things, those are the people and teams that are gonna be successful. And I'm very fortunate because I feel like my journey to this point hasn't just been an upward one. It's been windy, it's been up and down, and I'm hoping that journey and some of the things I've experienced is going to help us in the midst of COVID and this pandemic and just the ongoing change of events that continue to happen.
And you are a coach that I don't think many other coaches have the story, have gone through adversity that you've gone through. And let's just start about going all the way back to where you're from, West Africa. You had a crazy story growing up there. Obviously, we know the war that occurred out there. Just take us through what it was like growing up amongst that.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I grew up in a great community in Liberia, West Africa. It was called Bung Mines, and it was really a mining community. My dad was a mining engineer, and we lived with other foreigners, a lot of Germans in that community, and people from different parts of the world. But also, we were in Liberia, West Africa, and you had it was very diverse that way. That little city that I was in. But at the age of 10, like what usually happens in a lot of these third world countries, there was a coup, which means the start of a war where a rebel group came in and they were going to take over the country. And yeah, at 10 years old, I remember trying to walk home from school and there was all this commotion and screaming going on. And this group had actually come into our town and had every one of us at gunpoint. Again, you're going, man, is this it? You're seeing kids carrying machine guns that are 15, 16, kind of drugged out. But we were fortunate, and by the grace of God, we were able to get through that. And what I had in my favor was my mom was an American citizen. So when United Nations came in, because of our dual citizenship, we were able to be evacuated out of the country. And we lost everything, and came to America and had to start all over. So again, imagine leaving Liberia, West Africa, and moving to Salt Lake City, Utah. That's two pretty different places, as you can imagine, especially in 1990. But that experience, war, newness, losing everything, starting over, scrapping, fighting, watching my parents claw their way back and fight for their family, having to adapt to a new culture, all that, going through that was hard. But I also look at it as a blessing because it's helped shape me in terms of the way I think and how I process stuff.
We hear in the media, people always talk about the players and their background. A lot of guys have crazy stories to get to their point. Not a lot of coaches have that, especially the degree that you just came from. You lived through that. What would you say are maybe the biggest things you've taken away from growing up out there, dealing with all that you've now applied into your coaching and your professional aspect?
Well, I think the thing that I learned really early was, what power the game has. Mm-hmm. And when I came here, I didn't play basketball. I played soccer and I played tennis. I didn't know how to play basketball. I tell the story all the time. I think first time I was playing a pickup game, I'm first day at school, they picked me first.
Mm-hmm.
There's a black guy, man. We're in Utah. He's the only black guy really here. He's got to be able to hoop. And I couldn't hoop. And from that day on, they picked me last. In fact, when that team knew I was the last pick and they had that pick, they were like, oh, my God, right? So I had to learn very quickly to adapt and be adaptable. And I told myself that's going to be the last time I'm embarrassed. And I spent that whole summer, working on my game where I became a pretty good player and earned a Division I scholarship. But even more important than that, the relationships that were formed from the game. Here was a kid from Liberia, West Africa. How was I going to connect with a white kid from Salt Lake City or from Murray, Utah? And that ball was able to bring me closer to people I didn't have a lot of other things in common with. And that's been what I've taken from that experience. We can use it in a way where we can really grow relationships and form deeper, meaningful relationships that surpass the game. And the game may bring us together, but it's not what has to keep us together. So if you use the game wisely, man, it can take you places. And I'm a product of that. I mean, I sit here today because of the relationships that were formed because of that little orange ball. In fact, there's nothing in my life that I really have that the ball didn't give me, and that's the biggest lesson that I take with me.
And we'll get into the recruiting a little bit more, but just you as a person, as a coach, we know how diverse the game of basketball is in terms of there's different races, but also people from all over the world playing this game. Would you say it's kind of been a big benefit just having the connection, just being an international kind of person when you can relate to all these other guys from other countries as well?
Yeah, I mean, the way I grew up, I tell people all the time, my house in Salt Lake growing up, it was like the United Nations if you came in there, right? I mean, my friends were of all different ethnicities and races and backgrounds, and we love that. My mom's Cuban. Her parents are from Cuba. My dad's from West Africa, so I have that mix. But absolutely. And again, it gives you an ability to relate to people, be more relatable, to understand different backgrounds, to walk into different homes, to make people feel comfortable when they're around you because they feel like you know them or understand them. And that's a skill that I was really given because of my experience. And I love that. I love to be able to, walk into different homes and be able to sit there and be comfortable. Well, I'm comfortable because that's how my life was. And it allows other people to be comfortable and you can break through some of those barriers. And, when you have a chance to do that, now you have a chance to really connect to people and form something that's really meaningful.
And as you said, you developed your game of basketball, you earned a Division I scholarship, you played college basketball. What was your career like? What's some of your biggest takeaways from your career?
Well, my career probably didn't go as good as I had initially thought it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all have aspirations. I was lucky enough, I got a scholarship. I went to Southern Utah. And I remember, Southern Utah is in Cedar City. And when I was in maybe 9th grade, 10th grade, my family and I, we take these trips from Salt Lake to Vegas or Mesquite, Utah, where we would, or shoot in Mesquite, Nevada or St. George. We'd always go past Southern Utah. I remember it was in a small town. I would go, man, there's no way I would ever go to school there, ever. Like this small town. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I ended up going to school. And it ended up being great. I mean, when I went there, Southern Utah, I'd never been in the NCAA tournament. I was able to be a part of a team that went to the NCAA tournament the first time in school history. They haven't been back since. And, even though my career, I spent, 2 of those years, I had terrible tendonitis. And 1 year I had to sit out because of it. So I never got going like I thought I would. But, being able to even as a collegiate athlete, help recruit guys to Southern Utah to play with me, to playing in that NCAA tournament game and helping that team, being a contributor to a team that had done something that had never been done in the history of the school. I mean, that's to date one of my greatest accomplishments. And it's amazing again, when you buy into team and you're about team, what can be accomplished. It would have been a lot easier for me when I was there to say, you know what, you guys are bringing all these guys in and you want me to host them, and some of them are playing my position. I'm not going to do that. Well, I was glad we were able to bring in a Fred House and play alongside of Jeff Monaco and some of these guys that I played with, because those guys gave us the chance to be special and different. And it's that impact, the impact of them impacted my life. Like I said, that's to this date one of the greatest experiences I've had. So I've really taken that, and that has shaped me, because again, when you give more of yourself to the team and the team succeeds, we all benefit from that. And I'm a product of that. As a coach, we say that a lot. Take less so we can have more. I've been on that, where I've taken less so we can have more, and I've seen how that not only benefited my collegiate career, but it's helped shape me and get me to where I'm at today in terms of being a coach.
And then following your playing career, if you want to call me kind of a journeyman in terms of a coach. I mean, you've been all over the country playing or helping out and being a coach on so many different programs. Just take us through what it's like now leading up to your LMU job now.
Yeah, I've been all over the country, some by design, sometimes it's out of your hand. I've been in tough situations where we've been let go. I've been in situations where I've made decisions, hopefully, strategically, to help advance my career or to find a great fit. And sometimes some guys are very fortunate; they get to stay in the same area. But I really actually am thankful for how my career has gone. I've been in LA, and then I've gone to the Midwest, and I've been in Utah, and I've gone back to the Midwest, and I've, coming back to California. I feel like being in all those places, once again, you're not pigeonholed as a coach, or your reach is farther. And I love that. You have a chance to understand different aspects of different states and different programs, and kind of how the ins and outs of how, AAU guys work, high school coaches work. You have a good feeling, but you're able, again, to network and grow as a coach. And I think, again, that experience, I'm able to take all those experiences that I've had with the different places I've been, at the different levels I've been, and kind of morph that into who we want to be at LMU. So again, I'm grateful for the background and what has happened, but I'm equally as grateful for my career and the paths that I've been on, because I think it'll help us grow the kind of program that we certainly want to have here at LMU.
And one thing that's consistent amongst all your different paths you've been at is a lot of times you end up making the tournament. ASU, you made it when they were not winning, going that often. I mean, you go to Utah, you guys make it. You constantly being able to go, and obviously your Marquette run was incredible as well. How much of the things you're taking now and applying it to LMU in terms of getting them now to the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, there's a process in doing that, and it doesn't happen overnight. And there's a commitment level that you have to have, and you have to have the right people in place, and then you have to have the right structure and the right system and the right support to make that happen. And that's the thing I've taken away. Every place I've been, we had to do it a little different. But the one thing that is consistent is the people that you have on your team and the power that you have behind you. At Marquette, Marquette basketball is so powerful. It's so big. It means so much to that university that you don't only have the coaches that are striving to do that. You have a community behind you. And I could tell you the same holds true to a place like Utah and some of the other places I've been. And that's what we want to do here. We want to create a community, and we want to get as many people on board rowing in the same direction. And that's not just the people in our program. That's the people that touch us externally. That's, and I want people to feel like they have ownership in what we're doing. And if they have ownership in what we're doing, that's far more important than anything I can ever organize. And that's what we want to build. And when we get to that point, and we have the right people on board, and we have the right people rowing, and we have the right people believing, we're going to get closer to that ultimate goal. But we want to make sure our process is correct. And that's That's what I'm on every day. How's our process? And let's stay true to our process. And what do we need to tweak? Because if that's good, then the outcome, it's not guaranteed, but we have a better chance of getting that outcome. And the places I've been that we had success, that was the thinking, that was the philosophy, and that was the alignment that those places had in order to have, long-term success.
You mentioned getting the community support behind you. You were at Marquette before, obviously a Power Five, probably the biggest school in that state. You come to California, you have UCLA's, you have the USC's, Cal's, San Diego State. All these schools are in California. How do you look to maybe move LMU now up to that category and have so much support, and there are already so much talent in at California?
Well, number one, let me say this. The schools you mentioned are big time. Mm-hmm. They are terrific. Great universities that are led extremely well, and their basketball programs are all high level, and they all have tremendous coaches. So it's an honor to be here competing with those types of universities and institutions and coaches and teams. But I hope for us we can, maybe hopefully brand ourselves in a way where people go from curious to interested to committed. And for me, that's how we communicate with people. It's how we connect with them. It's how we make them feel when they're around us. It's how we make them feel when they watch us play, that we play with a level of toughness. We attack you, and we're an unselfish team. There's three things I always talk about is we're going to be selfless. And for me, that's, Loyola Marymount over you, meaning nothing is more important than LMU basketball, right? And if you haven't gotten over yourself, you're going to have a hard time being here. The second part to me is connected. And that means relationships before championships. Before we win championships, we got to be connected. And I just talked about it as a team. But we have to be connected to the community, and we have to make people feel good about what we're doing. And then lastly, we need to be relentless, and we have to attack everything. So those three things go into how we can try to separate ourselves from those other elite programs. I hope that we're selfless and people feel like high school coaches or AAU coaches or whoever, that LMU is a place they can go and learn and get better. And there's a feel they get. I hope people feel like they're really connected to us, and it's a sincere relationship that we have. And then lastly, I want to be relentless in how we recruit. And we've got to do a good job of identifying guys early that can play at a high level, that we do a good job of building those relationships with and getting early before some of those schools do. So we have a work cut out for us, and it's not going to be easy, but that's how we have to do it.
Without a doubt. We're going to get into LMU a little bit more in a bit, but you come from Marquette, as we talked about, and there's a guy I'm pretty close to with the Howard family, and that's a guy that would have possibly gone to ASU. You move out to Marquette, he comes with you, and we know the career that he obviously puts out there on Marquette. What was it like, and just seeing the way Marcus grew over those 4 years into the guy he became now?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I'm so proud of Marcus. Marcus coming out of high school, I think because he reclassed and came early, he was maybe one of the youngest guys in the country, if not the youngest. Mm-hmm. But to watch his development, I mean, he was like a top 80 player. And if you look at the guys that were all ranked ahead of him, for the most part, Marcus has probably had as a better career than most of those guys. I'm not saying, does that mean he's going to be a better pro? No, but in terms, I mean, he had one of the most historic college careers of all time. Think about that. Of all time, a man was the all-time leading scorer in the history of Marquette. He's the all-time leading scorer in the history of the Big East. I mean, think about the guys that have played in that league, right? I mean, he has accolades after accolades. I mean, Bob Cousy Award finalist, Naismith finalist. None of those things did anyone think about when it came to Markus Howard in high school. They thought he was a great shooter and a guy that could really score. No one saw that. But that's the beauty in going somewhere and being with people who truly believe in you. And when you share that sense of belief, the staff believing in him believing in us, and we have that common ground we stand on, that's what's possible. But the thing I'm most proud of with Marcus, I mean, he started Fellowship of Christian Athletes at Marquette. I mean, that's way bigger than basketball. but that's the kind of human being he is. And it's great to see him grow. It's great to see him grow as a leader. It's great to see him change and transform his body and truly commit to the game. And the sky's the limit for him. But I'm proud of him. And he didn't let distance be a factor, and he didn't let winning the press conference necessarily be a factor. He made a decision based on the relationship he had, and he trusted in that, and it led to greatness. And that's a great story for everybody, and something we all can learn from.
Absolutely. And when you're recruiting him, as you said, he was a player people knew, obviously, but no one knew he was going to probably become what he was. When you're recruiting him, did you see him reaching the level he reached in college, or what were your expectations when you originally were recruiting him?
I mean, did I think he was going to be the all-time leading scorer in the Big East? No. Did I think he would be a Naismith finalist and all those things? I can't honestly say that. I thought he'd be an all-league guy for us. I thought he'd have a chance to work himself in being a pro. But I did think he would have a chance to be the all-time leading scorer wherever he went. I really felt that, because he just had that knack and he had that gift. But all the things that have come outside of that, I can't tell you I saw that. But I did see him having a great career, because his character and how he worked, mixed with some of the God-given talents he had, when you combine his work ethic, with his talent, he had a chance to be really good.
And I mean, personally, obviously I love him. I've seen him grow up in Arizona, know the family and all, but I think personally, when you look at him, he's one of the most underrated college stars of all time. I mean, like you said, all the records he has, top 20 scorer of all time. I mean, why do you think it is that some people just weren't able to, he didn't get the attention maybe he deserved throughout his career there?
I don't know. I think, people would say, well, for us, we didn't win enough games in the NCAA tournament to advance to maybe get the notice. I don't know. But it's a shame to me, because, again, you put his career up with anybody's in terms of what he got accomplished. I don't know the answers to that, but Marcus is deserving of every accolade and every recognition that he gets. And I do agree with you. I think he's vastly, vastly underrated. But, I think we're going to look back years from now and go, wow, we didn't really realize that. And his best story and best days are yet to come.
Absolutely. And so you also mentioned a key aspect. You talked about faith a few times. I know Marcus is a strong believer as well. You as just being a coach, I mean, how has God kind of helped get you to the point you're at, and how do you kind of use his light?
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, when you say that you're someone of faith, sometimes people expect you to be perfect, and I'm certainly far from that. And I'm a work in progress, and every day I'm trying to get better, and I make as many mistakes as the next person. But there's no doubt God has had his hand over my life, starting from what I said, being at Gunpoint, and really being saved from death at the age of 10 to where I am now. I look back and go, I'm not worthy of any of this stuff, nor am I deserving of any of this. He's blessed me that way. And the only thing I can really do is to try to pay it forward to the guys that I'm coaching, to help them hopefully not make the same mistakes I've made as a human being. And I always say this, actions speak louder, and you have to talk about it, but you have to walk it. And I hope my walk will do more talking than my talk. And I certainly hope that I continue to grow in my faith and grow that way. But I'm nowhere near perfect, and that's why I actually need that. But there's no doubt I've had a blessing on my life, and one that I'm not worthy of. That's for sure.
Amen. And I mean, now, as I said, you're going to LMU with so much stuff kind of hype around you guys to a degree. I mean, people talk about everyone's kind of waiting for that California school to come in that wants to recruit guys from California, because there's so much talent out there. I know you guys also are looking to bring in a lot of these guys and kind of bring the pride of California in. What's kind of the backing behind that? Why do you kind of want to bring so much pride of California into you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't want to. We're sitting here. This is absolutely one of the rich places in terms of talent in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to feel like they don't have to leave to find what they want. LMU is an unbelievable school academically. I mean, a degree from LMU is going to carry you for a long time. And I tell people all the time, this is not a 4-year decision. This is a 40-year decision based on the type of school we have, where we're located, the types of people you're going to rub shoulders with. They're going to have a chance to impact your life beyond your basketball career. To me, there's no need to venture out of that unless you need something specific that's not here. But I want our community, I want LA, I want California, I want people to understand that they are important. And to build this program to where we are not only winning, but we're attracting fans, we're becoming a story, locally, hopefully then regionally, hopefully then nationally. I feel like the best way to do that, the best way to tell our story is to tell it with California-owned kids. And we want to keep them here. And that's been priority number one. And that's how we've kind of have attacked from a recruiting standpoint.
I read somewhere about you guys creating an adversity circle. What kind of went behind that? Explain that a little bit.
Well, the circle I have different groups that we have within our program. And, I have I call it a cares group. And every Monday it's our academic advisor, our strength coach, our physical therapist, all our coaches, our trainer, and we sit and we go through each and every one of our guys academically, socially, emotionally. We talk about them in terms of their game, what they have for the week. Because I want everybody to know what's going on with each guy in our program. Mm-hmm. Because, again, we may have a guy go to the weight room and he has a bad attitude and the strength goes, man, he was hard to coach today. Well, our academic advisor may know that he just broke up with his girlfriend. So he read that wrong. So I want all of us to understand what's going on in our guys' minds, in their lives. And I want us to be a part of who they are, not just as a player, but as a person. So that's that group. I have a circle group where it's everybody who touches our program externally. That's our athletic director, our associate AD, marketing, ticketing, fundraising. We meet bi-weekly, again, to talk about all the things and ways that we can continue to advance our brand and continue to attract constituents that want to be a part of us as we fundraise and those things, right? I've started a Lions for Life steering committee, and this group allows me to get into different donor doors and how we're going to fundraise for the different projects that we need here. So I have formed different, groups that I believe touch our program, that hold me accountable. But more importantly, I want these people to understand that they are a part of what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And what they do has a major impact on who we become. And like I said to you earlier, the more people feel a part of what you're doing, the more they feel invested in what you're doing, they have a greater chance now going beyond the call of duty. And they have a better chance of, more importantly, understanding who our guys are, what their needs are, in order for them to be at their best when they're here.
Couldn't agree more. And I mean, you obviously discussed the COVID pandemic earlier, and you coming as a new coach, you still have the job of recruiting, you still have the job of putting together a team, the staff, everything. How are you managing to still focus on your 2020 class, focusing on all this while getting adjusted to colleges, becoming a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I've said this, and I'm watching the Clippers before we came on. I'm thinking about Doc Rivers, who was a great Marquette player, and I've kind of stole this mantra from him. But my thing has been, let's win the wait. Mm-hmm. While people are waiting, we have to win. And for me, winning is everything you just said. Win, WIN, means what's important now in our program. And for me, what's important now is, one, fostering the best relationships I can with our guys. There's nothing more important than that. And I can't be with them in person, but, we meet every Thursday at 2:00 as a team, and that's very systematic in terms of building our culture, giving them assignments, giving them ownership, putting them in front of the right people. In those meetings, one of the things I did, I hired a mental performance coach, Brian Kane, who's involved in that and helps us because, again, a big part of growing our program and shifting is not going to be all physical. It's going to be mental. So we've spent a lot of time on that. My other time is spent recruiting. Outside of our players, the next most important thing are the guys that are going to be here. So being very systematic in how we're going about that and who we're after and our game plan and all those things, our roster. So we've spent so much of our time during the day doing that. I've also wanted to, connect our program to people that touch it, in college basketball. And so in the last week or so, I've spent a lot of time with our staff, Zooming, media people throughout the country, not only out here in California, but media people that cover college basketball, again, so we can share our story and tell our story and connect with those people. We spent a lot of time Zooming high school coaches because a lot of the AAU guys we know and I've been around and I have a relationship with. There's so many other high school coaches that, whether guys knew or we don't know them. So we've tried our whole full staff. We're going down our list trying to get every California high school coach on a Zoom. So, I don't want to keep boring you, but those are the ways that, again, how can we win? This week we've been on the floor with our staff going over our offense, defense, special team system, again, putting in a framework of who we want to be, knowing who our guys are. So I don't want the day to just go by. And I say this all the time, like, when you're building a program or you're trying to grow it and you're trying to grow a culture, you can do it intentionally or you can make it happen. But either way, something's going to happen. And I want to make sure whatever we're doing, we're being intentional about it.
Absolutely. A couple more things before I let you go. One is this upcoming team, whenever you guys can, get back on the court, get the season rolling. Obviously, some of these guys were guys with the past coaching staff. How do you kind of plan to go in there and identify who's going to make up your roster, who's your rotation guys, and just kind of figure out who's the leaders in the locker room?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the first things we did as a staff, we gave each guy an evaluation and pretty much a booklet on who we felt they were and what they needed to improve on coming into this year. So defensively, I gave them 3 things. Offensively, I gave them 3 things. Culturally, we gave them 3 things. And then academically, I gave them 3 things. In the training room, I gave them 3 things. And strength and conditioning, I gave them 3 things. That's based on talking to everybody around here that has worked with them. That's based on watching hours of film on them. That's based on spending time with them. And so now it's while they're away, again, are they winning the weight? Are you finding ways to work on those things? So as we get back as a group, it's on paper what I feel like you need to do to get better to help our team. And if a guy has not done that and has not shown signs in that, then really he's determining his own playing time. I'm not. So that's how we're going to do it. We've given them the framework. This is who we think you are. This is what you need to get better at. And this is what we need to see. So that's how we're going to do it. Now, a lot of that will change as we get together and we learn more about each other. But, if these guys don't show me improvement in that area, then you're telling me you're not serious about who we want to be as a program, a team, and who you want to be. And if that's the case, you're certainly not going to play for us.
Absolutely, Coach. My final thing before I let you go is I can imagine you ultimately want to build a legacy for yourself, both what you achieve on the court now as a coach and off the court as well. And by the time you step away from this game someday, what do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, I don't think about that as much. My mission, why I coach, my mission here at LMU is to take people to places they can't take themselves. That's my job. And I hope when the guys leave our program or the people who are associated with me will say, you know what, he took me to a place I couldn't take myself. And because of him, I became a better father, husband. My career took off. I had more in the tank than I thought, but he allowed me to believe I had more in me than I thought. And because of that, I went to a place I wasn't even dreaming of. And if that's something they can say about me, I'll be the happiest person in America.
Awesome, Coach. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking time to come on today, and look forward to seeing you get back on the court.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me. You do a great job, and keep it going.
Absolutely, Coach. God bless you.
You too.